How do, folks? It is David, the so-called minimal DM. At least that's what it says on the channel homepage. And I am here with yet another piece of advice for new or aspiring DMs. And today we are going to be talking about, I guess, the big elephant in the room. This is the one where you're actually trying to schedule your players together at the same time on the same night to have a game. Now, the first thing that I would say is try not to do things on an ad hoc basis. There is a time and place for that kind of thing, but we will go into that a little bit later. If you're having a session zero, I believe they call it nowadays, or basically getting together to try and organise a game in the first place, then as a DM, set the expectation down. Find out when people are most likely to be able to be present and set your game around that, and make it a static fixture. So for example, our scheduled games are every second Saturday, and it is set in stone, and it starts at 7 o'clock, and that is the end of it. It has been like that for many years. Everybody knows what the date is. Everybody knows that we didn't play last Saturday, so we are playing this Saturday. And yes, okay, wives and partners may conveniently forget that kind of thing and book you out. No names mentioned. However, everyone knows that's game night. And that's the thing, it would be exactly the same if you were in like a sports club or something like that. Wednesday night football practice. Every Wednesday night, you grab your kit bag and you go out. I don't understand how people would treat a regular gaming session any differently. The regularity of it is entirely up to you guys. I've certainly been in weekly games. Ours, as I say, is fortnightly. Whatever suits you, okay? But that is it. It is set in stone. This is when it will occur. Is that kind of thing a little bit more difficult when you are younger? Yes, because you're experiencing socializing and partying and things like that, and it can kind of get in the way. But we live with that. As you get older, family commitments, like I've already mentioned, they can get in the way, and everyone's allowed to go on holiday. But that's the thing, if you know about it well enough in advance, then let the rest of the guys know. If someone's on an overseas trip, like happened quite recently, he told us about 6 months beforehand. Which brings me on to non-attendance and what to do about that. There are a couple of tricks that we have learned. First of all, let's talk about the key player, which is actually yourself, the DM. If you are not able to attend, yeah, okay, unfortunately the game may need to be cancelled. There are ways around that. We have DMs that can stand in, and if we are a natural stopping point, just sub in a DM and they run a small encounter or something like that, and we get back to the main adventure when the regular DM returns. To go along with that, it is a very good idea for the DM to actually roll up a character themselves. Essentially, somebody that is going to act as an NPC, but what it does mean is that if they return and the substitute DM is not at a natural stopping point, they've actually got a character to play, as opposed to having to deal with somebody else's hand-me-down. It's theirs, and being an NPC, they are always going to be in control of it because they have been controlling it as a DM. They just get to put a little bit more flesh on the bones now in terms of role-playing and deciding on actions depending on what is going on in the game. So that particular thing is the other tip. Make sure, if you're forming a party, DM, make yourself an NPC that can be inserted into it. What this also means is that you've got something there that if you get, an old mate from out of town dives in and plays a flying visit on game night, you can just pass them a character sheet. So that kind of tactic covers a multitude of things. What we have also started doing, as I've told you before, is that we have our main second edition game, which is coming to its natural conclusion, and we have the 5th edition, the new campaign, which is starting, but also sitting in the background in my camp, ready to be a substitute game when the 2nd edition campaign finishes, And if for any reason the 5th edition DM is not available, we have the continuation of the old campaign, which has turned into a superheroes game, which is based on 5th edition. So it's going to be the same kind of game system, but I can always run a couple of sessions of that. And that's not a problem. We know exactly where we are with that one. So having alternative games that can be played on a particular night, depending on whether or not your regular DM is available, means you can always play a game. Now, tied in with that, certainly in our particular situation, I'm also the one who hosts the venue. And if it turns out that I know for a fact that I'm not going to be available, then whatever material that I have that stays here does need to be passed over to somebody else who's going to be running it, and they need to sort out a new venue. It could be a case where, because that's all too difficult sorting out in the background, unfortunately you do just have to cancel the game. But it is not a regular thing. It is generally speaking going to be because either some kind of family emergency has come up at the last minute, or due to illness or something like that. Moral of the story, if the DM is present, if you are present and it is a game night, a game shall be run, or you have a substitute DM that can run a game. Which brings us on to making sure that your players turn up. Right. Again, this is another one where you set expectations right at the very start of the campaign. The general rule of thumb that we use is if a majority of people are here and present, including the DM obviously, or a DM, then the game will go ahead. Unfortunately, our party has dropped down to 3 players plus the DM, 4 in total. So for there to be an actual majority as opposed to an even split, we can only get one person dropping out for whatever reason. If 2 people have to drop out, then unfortunately the game does need to be cancelled. So if you can possibly get away with it, try and get an odd number, or a party greater than 3 players. If you can at least hit 4, by the time you add in the DM, then you've at least got an uneven number, so you've got the opportunity for, a clear majority. Plus 4 players makes up an ideal party: fighter, priest, magic user, thief. Balanced party, go on an adventure. As long as a majority of the players turn up and arrive, the game goes ahead. But what do you do about the characters of the players who haven't turned up? Well, I could turn around and say it's open season, but obviously D&D is a cooperative game. Yes, you can run the PCs as an NPC. Do bear in mind you've already got 1 NPC, so that gives you 2 part-time player characters that you are dealing with. Realistically, you are better off passing that spare character sheet to another player and they can run 2 characters for the night. Just obviously be aware that you may need to step in and say, actually, no, sorry Fred, Bob would not do that. He is not going to do a suicide run just to pull your scrawny arse out of the fire. So do be realistic. However, if they ain't here to play the character and they get killed, too bad, sucks to be them. That does not necessarily mean that you should deliberately attempt to kill their character just because they haven't turned up and it's the second time they've skipped out on a game and the third time is looking dicey, so you're going to get your revenge in first. No. Like I said, depending on the age group of the players involved, there are legitimate reasons why, unfortunately, they just can't make a game. It happens. It's called life. And of course, you always have the option, if people don't turn up, to do something different. D&D is a social group gathering. If at least a couple of people can get there, but it's not the full majority and the game's going to be cancelled, gather around, have a natter, catch up, play a different game, or decide to go out to the pub and do a pub quiz or something like that. But make sure that you keep those social connections as well, because that social interaction is a huge part of role-playing games in general and the whole of this hobby, because it involves a number of people all getting together. Anyway, I hope that's given you a couple of ideas. Most of them were probably reasonably obvious, but it is one of those things which is a pain point. If you've managed to take anything away from it, all good. If you enjoy this kind of content, then I've left a link to the whole playlist for all of the DM tips and tricks down in the description of this video. Do all that social media stuff. Like, subscribe, pop a comment in the section down below, even if it's just to say banana. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. Toodle pip for now.